deep into the stories behind some of your favorite brands, from candid chats with founders to insights from top marketers and e-com operators. We're going to discover how they're building, scaling, and learning in this ever-evolving D2C landscape. And I'm really excited to introduce our guest for today, Matt from St. Agrestis. Could you give us a bit of an intro, who you are, what you do, and a little bit about the company?
Absolutely. Yeah. So I'm Matt Catizone from St. Agrestis. I am managing partner. I also oversee our marketing and everything digitally for us here at the brand. I am one of 3 partners, so I share the business with my brother who runs our commercial and quite a bit of other things as well, Lewis. And our third partner, Stephen D'Angelo, who is really focused on supply chain manufacturing. So a bit about St. Agrestis. We started in 2017 as a spirit company. So Amaro, if you're familiar with like the after sort of dinner digestivo category, is the first thing we ever made. We were New York's first to do it commercially in 2017. And we've kind of grown through alcohol up until the pandemic, where, of course, just like many other businesses, we kind of had to adapt to a new climate, a new frontier. And it was 2022, we launched the Phony Negroni, which has quickly changed our sort of direction from a spirit brand to a non-alc business that produces spirits as well. So certainly that's been a big part. That's really been where we've been successful in DTC through our non-alc extensions and portfolio.
Yeah. I mean, first question, I always love like when I see like brothers and siblings and partners working together. How is it working with your brother?
Yeah, it's a great question. And it's a question we get often. It's an incredible experience, you know. So I'm one of 4 sons, actually. So he's 2 and I'm 3. So we're right in the middle, which I think means that we for whatever reason just battled and competed the most growing up. So our oldest and youngest brothers certainly were part of the fold forever. Everybody's about 1.5 years apart. So like clockwork, just 18 months another kid came out for about a 6-year period. And we've played the same sports. We've always, had similar likes and interests and just really battled each other and competed. So when we were younger growing up, it was a competition. And now as business partners, it's a competition together, right? Yeah. So we've teamed up and we take the best of each other and kind of push the business forward. Certainly there's blowouts that can exist that in a normal business setting would be borderline inappropriate, but there's that brotherhood to it that, that certainly pushes us further. It means that you also just will go the extra mile, right? It's your brother on the other end, it's my brother who's on a long business trip, trying to get something done, step up, make his life a little bit easier. Of course, we do that for any employee here, but there's just something about it that just makes it special.
Yeah. I work with my sister and my partner as well. So I like to, I think there's no relationship quite like a sibling relationship. You can be as honest with them, as truthful about everything.
Honestly, and like honesty is something that I think, always can be a bit tricky. It's hard to sometimes in business, kind of contract somebody's opinion, but when it's your brother, it's way easier. Your partner, whoever it might be, you can be like, look, that's not a good idea. I'll tell you why. There's no BS. You don't have to fluff it the same way.
Yeah. And let's go back to kind of like how you guys got started. So what was like the big reason for going from being a spirit brand through to non-alc and now for that to like take precedent of like the whole company? Like what was that transition like?
Yeah, so it's a great question. We so the pandemic, what it did for us was it opened up DTC for the first time in 2020. So March of 2020, New York State rolled back a ton of shipping laws, which then started kind of happening in other states around the country, really as a mechanism to just survive, right? So they said, a New York business who produces alcoholic products that were 70% of their sales were going to bars and restaurants. Well, they don't have that anymore. So it was a little bit of a lifeline to say, hey, if you can sell to somebody in your neighborhood and you can get it shipped to them, do what you got to do. So we at the time were on a different, not Shopify powered website, certainly not built for DTC. So we had to bootstrap that thing together. I used to joke it was held together by like literal pieces of tape just to not break. But we started selling alcoholic products in 2020 online and found a lot of pretty quick success. And we started innovating around it as well. So we launched, On the alcoholic side, we have a ready-to-drink Negroni. It was launched in 2018 in a bottle, really a first of its kind, kind of before the huge movement of RTDs. And then in 2020, because we had a lot of success online, and people weren't really looking to leave their house still, we created a bag-in-box Negroni. So a 24%, 1.75 liter dispenser of Negroni that people could put in their fridge next to their Britas. And that product was a boon. It was extremely easy and cost efficient to ship. And it was something that consumers really kind of wanted, right? They wanted to be able to have a drink, but they didn't want to have to constantly go out and get it or have shipments, whatever it might be. So with those successes, we knew that, we wanted to find more opportunities. So we have wine licenses here. So wine has more sort of shipping authority than actual spirits. So we started exploring other types of products that could be wine-based to open up more opportunity for us. And all of this happened, it was happening 2020, 2021. In 2019, my brother went to Bar Combat in Berlin, which is one of the biggest, if not the biggest, alcohol bev industry like trade shows in the world. And he started seeing these sort of like pop-ups that were for non-alc brands in Germany and in Europe generally. And Western Europe is generally a good indicator for how trends will come to the States over time. So we took note of that. We said, NA isn't really a thing here. In 2019, there was really just Seedlip as a brand that was in the market, and they were kind of the trailblazer with that. But there was brands that, many brands in Europe representing themselves at an event that cost quite a bit of money to do so. And there was a lot of traction. Germans have been drinking NA beer for forever as well. So it made a lot of sense, but it kind of opened our eyes to what might be coming in the future. So we came back, we immediately were like, well, we'll call it a Phony Negroni. We want to make a Negroni for everybody, whether you're drinking or you're not drinking. It really just to us would be a good line extension product.
Yeah.
So 2021, we really are indeed. We spent the entire year getting the product just right so that we were proud of it. And at the same time, we started positioning ourselves to move to a Shopify website for 2022 to kind of align with that launch, because we knew it would just open more shipping opportunity for us. What we didn't quite know until we hit launch was that a massive amount of people were looking for this kind of opportunity. And, whether they overdrank during the pandemic or they just were on new medication or they simply just wanted to get their health in a different place, they reached for it immediately, and the product immediately went from a line extension concept to the brand's flagship, like within like a month, no joke.
That's amazing. I'm really surprised that like Europe leads the trends in that kind of industry, because America is usually so like forward thinking in like a lot of areas, especially around like e-commerce and D2C. I wonder if it's kind of unique to like your industry and your products where it's kind of trickling in a little bit later there.
And it certainly might be. I think, it's probably industry focused in terms of like F&B really, right?
Yeah.
So I think most of our successful restaurants in this country are either French, Italian leaning as well. So I think we certainly lean in the kitchen and behind the bar on those Western European cultures. I mean, London is the most influential cocktail city in the world. We get things every day from London that New York then tries to kind of repackage and call its own. But
I do remember going to New York a few years ago, and it was in like the gin craze. And over here we had like every single flavored gin possible. And I got to New York and I was like, oh, they don't even. I think all they even had was like a pink gin at most.
Yeah.
And it was that was like when we was like really truly in it. So like as you kind of go about developing new products now, you've got like a split audience, I guess, in terms of people that are looking for alcohol beverages and then others that are going down that more non-alc. Like how are you deciding like what's next in like the product roadmap and what's going to fit like the audience?
Yeah, so certainly it was, especially in 2022, that like audience was very split, and there was like a serious legitimate strategy behind communicating with both. After some time, I think initially we just communicated as like, hey, this is just another thing in the wheelhouse. But over time, our audience, became the majority of folks who are NA. We're looking for our NA products and much less our ALC. So like as of right now, year to date, it's like 2% of our online sales would be alk. And a
Oh,
lot of that's restriction based, right? We can only ship to like 4 states for a handful of our products. So limited reach and access for folks, which is unfortunate because being able to ship directly to somebody's door provides a ton of advantages, but old laws are old laws. So when it comes to new developments of products, I think because we like to play the hot hand and continue to chase down what's really been working well for us and what generally our consumers are looking for, non-alc has been at the forefront of product development and new releases over the past, really since the Phony Negroni came out in 2022. We had a couple limited releases that were alcoholic at the end of 2022, but at this point, everything that we're thinking about moving forward is non-alc innovation. In terms of how we like come to those products, it's a combination of what are we hearing, what do we see in the market, what are people asking for. So we don't go and like sort of like crowdsource new products as much as maybe we could. For us, it's like we've kind of been able to create this trust with consumers where they say, you guys have earned my trust, so put something out and I'll probably order it and I hope I enjoy it and I'll get more of it. So like we can release a product and folks will sort of just purchase it because we've created that trust versus, creating a product, doing a lot of like sampling and going through that feedback loop.
Yeah. And this kind of takes me on to my next question, I suppose, like with the acquisition piece, particularly around like a cold audience that might not necessarily have heard of you guys, like how do you go about helping them to want to try the product and get on, trying something completely new without, that taste factor?
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, we have things that look really nice online digitally. That doesn't really, do much in terms of somebody having the confidence that it's definitely good. There's plenty of things that look good online that are not good in terms of product quality. So I think it's of course like the actual like sort of consumer feedback, right? So reviews are of course a huge part of it, but even reviews and like that calculus is constantly changing as well. I think they used to be the most trusted source, and as reviews kind of proliferate and everybody chases down mass amounts of reviews, it kind of loses its authenticity a little bit as well, right? Incentivized reviews, somebody giving you 5 stars and saying it's good doesn't really tell much of a story. So I think certainly when it comes to like attracting new customers, it's trying to bundle a bunch of things together, real consumer feedback. What are conversations online, right? So like something that we spend a lot of time working on now is like GEO, and how is a question from a consumer about our products or about the category generally going to get answered. And to that, we're spending a lot of time like on Reddit, making sure we're part of those conversations, being super informative, talking about not just the products, but like the category in general, so that we're just sort of putting all the best information out. So folks can go and let's say search Phony Negroni. Let's say, you go ChatGPT, search Phony Negroni. It's going to find customer reviews and things off our website, but it's also going to find sort of those sort of trade or industry sort of stamps of approval. So Phony Negroni for the last 3 years has won best in class at the San Francisco World Spirits Competition, which is generally considered to be the biggest and sort of most influential blind taste event in the world. So it kind of like won in 3 years in a row and got like a platinum award. That's kind of like a lifetime achievement award almost. So AI is really good at, of course, finding that recognition. Phony Negroni was named VinePair's Rising Brand and Product of the Year just last week. So like that's stuff that's already coming up in search results. So it gives a lot more sort of confidence in a new consumer who hasn't tried the product to say, okay, customers seem to like it. The trade is writing really positively about it or giving them awards. So those things all kind of bundled together and just give more confidence that somebody can order the product, more so, because people are saying good things instead of it just having a good cheeky name and looking good in a picture.
And what's been like one of the most effective growth levers for you guys from like a D2C point of view? Has it been around like the content, community, partnerships, page, or even like the wholesale and hospitality part of the business? Like what do you think's helped drive the D2C channel for you?
Yeah, it's paid, and it's that last part as well. So paid, of course, for us, like this category essentially came out of nothing in 2022 in terms of spirits and wine. Beer has had a couple year head start. Like Athletic and some of those Heineken and other businesses have kind of turned on the NA lever pre-pandemic and have grown to really be successful in the category. But for us, like it kind of just started at the same time as the Phony Negroni coming out generally. So that's meant that there's been a lot of opportunity to kind of go find customers through paid channels. So we certainly lean heavily on Google, but we also, we use socials for retargeting, and a couple other platforms as well to go acquire new customers. So we've been, to date pushing paid performance since really January of 24. So, almost 2 years of spending money to go get customers and bringing them in to our database. So I think that's been a huge part. Another big part has been the sort of our sales approach generally. A lot of other adult non-alc beverage brands have kind of raced to the largest retailers in the country, and that makes a ton of sense, right? One buyer can get you into 1,000 retail shops. Like that's a pretty smart approach. We just see it a bit differently to us. And this comes a little bit from our alcoholic beverage background, but brands are generally built, in our opinion, at the on-premise in beverage. So you create just an easier point of discovery. So quite a few of our customers will come to us because they sat at a bar in their town, read the menu, say, it's a Tuesday, I've got this DTC live presentation the next morning, something like that, right? And they say, maybe I shouldn't be drinking alcohol tonight, but I'd like to have something more interesting than soda water or water with bitters, whatever it might be. They look at the menu, they see Phony Negroni, and they think that's a fun name. Let me give it a shot. And more often than not, they enjoy their experience and they pull out their phone and they order from the table or from the bar. So that's been a really big part of discovery for us as well. We kind of call it like the unpaid marketing channel. It's, essentially financed by our on-premise and our sales efforts and, incentives with distributors and things like that to get people into the DTC fold. Those other channels too, like content community, that's like, to me and us, like that's like the wave that we're stepping into. So because our database has grown and now we have customers who have been there for 3-4 years almost, it's time to continue to evolve, more content, more education, and more community, right?
And that's how Miranda from Sex and the City found you guys, wasn't it? When she was sat in the bar.
It's exactly right. Yeah. So, and even like to get into the show itself. So, of course, a lot of people asked, like, how did you guys do that? Did you work with HBO? Like, did a producer reach out? Like, did you pay for it? And the answer is no to every one of those questions. We found out we were going to be in the Sex and the City debut episode when the trailer dropped, just like everybody else. So I'm watching this trailer and I see the Phony Negroni at a bar and my mind was instantly blown, but it fit that scene really well for what it was. And that's what the writer thought. And the writer is somebody we've since communicated, and they were like, look, I needed a product that sort of fit this moment of where a modern woman is today and being out, but thinking differently about consumption. Obviously the name was great, and the writer, Phony Negroni in the same way, right? Herself. So when it came to writing that scene, it wasn't necessary to create a fake situation. They could just put the Phony Negroni in and like it helped paint that picture.
And how did that perform for you guys? Did you see any kind of like direct impact on having such a great product placement?
Yeah, we certainly saw a little bit of a bump. I mean, the like messages in and like the social activity certainly spiked, which was a lot of fun. And like it's still to date, it's my best LinkedIn post. Like it's still like floats around in discovery and I'll still get likes, as recently as a couple of days ago on it. So I think for people, it's something that multiple generations know that show, right? It's very much like a younger baby boomer and, Gen X, millennial show, but like newer generations, because of the revitalization, have been on it as well. So.
And just to kind of go like a little bit further into like your community that you've built, like you've got a newsletter that you guys run. It's got quite a distinct editorial voice. Like, how do you think about storytelling and making sure that you're keeping your customers really engaged between those purchases? Like, I imagine they're not necessarily buying for an occasion all the time. So you've got to kind of keep them for a reason for them to make those return purchases.
For sure. Yeah. So our those who know Substack, which we launched in August of this year, is for us, it's really been about telling stories that we would want to read. So, I think I haven't seen a ton of brand Substacks. I think it's a newer concept. So we're happy to be, kind of on top of it. But a lot of times, like, I read or see things, or I think about, like, do people really want to hear St. Agrestis just talk about how great St. Agrestis is and, like, our products? And, like, the answer is no. I think people want to hear interesting things. If the product can be adjacent to that, fantastic. So, like one channel or a series specifically that we've been really happy with and has performed very well for us, both in our Substack as well as socials for us, is called Places We Know, that lives within that Those We Know Substack. And it's us weekly kind of going to an account and telling an interesting story about it. So we'll go to, like, for instance, we went to a local bar here in Williamsburg in North Brooklyn last week, and we posted the content on Sunday on Substack and Monday on Instagram, and they're moving a block away. People love the bar and they love the story behind it, but not everybody knew the full story. I learned quite a bit from this process as well. But we also informed people that, hey, in like a month, these guys are moving a block away. So just, like, be aware of that. And, we talked about the owners and powerful women and what the representation of this bar was, and people loved it. And it wasn't because the Phony Negroni serve there or they serve other products of ours. It was because it was a good story that just has them reading our content. So we try and really make that higher end and to match the product and the brand in general. So, the way we'll even post that stuff on Instagram is through, like, old camera stills and, like, a carousel, not like a TikTok style creator video where we're going in and, like, eating and things like that. It's really trying to look at it through a different lens that I think, lends credibility to us. Like, it's in one way a representation that, hey, we're good enough to be at this bar or that restaurant, but it's supposed to be more than that as well. And we're looking at it differently than just, like, infatuation or eater write-ups, like hot maps.
Yeah.
Those periodicals generally go after the same sets of restaurants. And we're really fortunate and lucky to work with quite a bit of those restaurants that get featured there. We try and tell the story as well of, like, the place in your neighborhood that you go to twice a week for the last 10 years. The ones that defy, like, the life cycle of a restaurant in New York, the ones that you don't go to once, you go to all the time, that have, the same person behind the bar since you've been going that first time. The ones that get told a little bit less.
Yeah. And that's nice, I suppose, for them to read as well, isn't it? Like, and knowing that it's not just about, like, transactional exchanges, like, it's about more than that. It's about all kind of bringing each other up, all supporting each other's businesses, and hopefully introducing their brands and businesses to a new set of customers that might not necessarily have, because, I mean, New York has got, one of the best, like, food and drink scenes that I've ever been to, and there's so much variety and variation that, I imagine even for people that live there, like, there's probably so many places that you've not even thought about trying yet.
Yeah, it's impossible. You could not physically go to every institution in this city. So, yeah, and to that point, because we also care so much about a B2B customer, right? DTC is obviously so important, and why we're doing a Substack, but it gives just a tiny spotlight on a B2B customer also that, from a marketing standpoint, it helps them, want to continue to support the brand and carry the products. It also gives their following on social an opportunity to maybe think a little bit differently about St. Agrestis. Maybe they've read Phony Negroni in the menu for the last year, but they haven't pulled the trigger. Maybe they're more inclined to do so now. So it can be a little bit of an acquisition piece as well.
Yeah. And have you done any kind of, like, community-driven experiences, like events or collaborations, and how's that kind of impacted D2C?
Yeah, so it's for us, it's like the next frontier. A lot of, exciting sort of outside the box things like events we've been just a little bit handicapped because of our staffing. more than
It's
anything else.
hard.
Yeah, it takes bodies to do fun and exciting things. So really surprises a lot of people. Up until this summer, I was the only person at St. Agrestis who touched marketing or advertising or experiences events, which meant that we didn't have almost any experiences or events because it's really hard to produce an event while also, doing a lot of the other things. But in the summer, we got really a content community manager. Paul came to the team, and it's been really a boon for us. It's allowed us to, lean into things like Substack and those who know, to be a little bit more outside the box in terms of writing and content in that way. And also just gives us more opportunity to try events as well, right? We have another person who could dispatch out to try and run a small event. To date, the only thing that we've really launched as a recurring event would be the Phony Run Club, which runs at 6 p.m. on Mondays from McCarran Park in North Brooklyn. So if anybody's listening, come join us. It's fun. So we're trying to do more and more of that stuff, right? So it's 2026 is a little bit about finding fourth places for folks. So not just being in the park, but being engaged with an activity in the park, whether it's the Phony Run Club or the Phony Book Club, which we hope to launch at some point next year as well. It's these little things that are interesting to people that people do, and it's trying to do more of it again as a brand, but not like, hey, here's a card to order Phony Negroni after the Run Club. It's like, here's a free Phony Negroni. Thanks for running. We'll see you next Monday.
Yeah.
Much less like intrusive.
And what does the next stage of like DTC growth look like for you guys? Like, I know we spoke about a few things when we last met, but is there anything that's like in your roadmap? Is there anything key that you're looking into?
Yeah, I mean, I think, going back to community stuff, I think it's because our paid performance has brought so many customers into the fold. It's how do we continue to be better with folks we already have, right? There's that old, saying it's 5 times more expensive to acquire a customer than to keep one. And it's spending more time and energy with the folks we already have within the organization. So we currently have a loyalty program. It's kind of like revamping that loyalty program, making it a little bit more intuitive for customers, making sure that their login is easier and the navigation on their accounts is easier. So a little bit of beefing up the actual like good propositions for folks, but also just making sure the technology is up to snuff, right? Things are improving and enhancing every day or breaking every day. So it's making sure that, when a customer is on the website, that they have a pretty easy way, and it's clear that, oh, you have X amount of loyalty points. You can use them right now. This is how you use it. That's just something that a customer who maybe is thinking about buying right in that moment might push them over the top. So for us, it's continuing to of course go after paid sales. Like we'll continue to have a paid strategy for new acquisitions or win backs, but it's rewarding the folks inside the house just a little bit more. Events as well fits on that. So we'd like to get not a road show going, but we travel enough with the business, and it's trying to at least attach some form of an event in a city that we might only get to once a year. Previously we weren't doing, right? Let's meet some folks as well. Everybody's generally likes that. So
yeah, I bet it's really interesting with the loyalty program. I think like the consumer now needs more. Like they don't just want a standard points for purchase, do they want a little bit more. They want to find out how they can get more connected and deeper insights with the brand. And I think figuring out like a really solid loyalty strategy can be quite tough, and I think it takes a lot of iterations over time as well to really find something that's working well. But it's good that you've got like obviously a consumable product, so people, once they've probably had that first sip, they're like, oh yeah, I could keep coming back to this one. So I bet that does help.
For sure. Yeah. And I think, playing into that as well, it's using other tools that we have. We'd like to expand subscriptions. We have a ton of folks who come and buy with enough frequency that if they just pop themselves on a subscription, they'd save 5%, right? So it's communicating that stuff even more, and just making it super apparent to somebody that we have these tools. These tools can help you save money and time as well, right? So like an auto shipment is just something that helps. Something else with loyalty too, like we want to try and like expand beyond, to your point, points and discounts and things. Like, how cool would it be if you get a certain amount of points and boom, you can unlock a free gift from a partner we have? Like, I think that's a cool iteration, and people generally like, people like St. Agrestis. There's some similarities in other types of brands that they like. So it's doing more with those brands and enhancing our customers' experience.
Yeah, definitely. And how do you kind of go about choosing who's right to collaborate with, or, who's right to go into like B2B and retail with? Is there anything that needs to stack up and align for you guys before you'll move forward with it?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of like our sort of on the ground sales and where we're going to be available from a retail standpoint, it's definitely pretty intentional, right? What we don't want to do is go to the wrong small independent shop, right? So a place that, there's a lot of bodegas here in New York City. They're not all a fit for Phony Negroni. Some people are going in and they're looking for Zin pouches. That's not like necessarily where the Phony Negroni needs to be. So it's a bit of a balance between access and the right access. In a lot of instances, we'd probably rather folks just come directly to us online than try and make it available at a store that doesn't feel like the right fit, or maybe it's a fit for one customer, but otherwise the products are going to collect dust. The perception of bad sales velocity can be contagious. So making sure that you don't sell to a small independent that's not going to turn the product well, but at the same time, a large national chain. You'd hate to go into a large national chain, not find the success, spend the time, energy, and money to do so, and then lose your placement, because it's pretty impossible to then get that placement back. So it's being very intentional with the growth. Target's our biggest retailer right now. We work with 660 of their stores across the country. And that was a laborious back and forth process to determine if we were the right brand at the right time to be in the store. We, of course, ultimately decided we were, because they're taking a serious stance on the category. So it creates this knowledge base that Targets have sets of things that people are looking for, right? And it's a great place to send customers. Everybody generally has a Target somewhat close to them in the States. So it just adds more access as well, which is good. Moving forward, like, chains have been obviously something that are important. We've done less chains. Most of our retail is independent. And even, in terms of where we sell, we're 60% on-premise bar and restaurant versus 40% on the retail side. So, there's not a ton of retail that we've kind of got into on a large scale yet. So it's evaluating all of those, right? So, like, is Walmart the next right fit for us? It probably isn't yet, but in 3 years, it very well may be. But in 6 months, it might be as well. So it's making sure that it's somewhere where we expect the customer is looking for the product or going to be happy to find the product.
Yeah. Has there been any like major shifts in consumer behavior in the past kind of year that's surprised you?
Not a ton in the last year. I mean, I think, of course, like, this entire movement to NA has been like a crazy shift that's really disrupted the alcohol industry, from top to bottom. I mean, I think, longevity has been a buzzword this year. I think everybody's talking about longevity. So we'll get, some questions based on like sugar content and stuff like that, but not to a point where we feel like we've had to like completely alter the way we're producing products or the products that are coming off the line today. So we haven't seen a ton of shifts, at least in the last 12 months, that have drastically impacted our approach.
Yeah, that's good.
Yes, it's going to happen.
Yeah, but it helps make things a little bit more predictable as your future planning, and it's nothing negative that's kind of like made you have to pivot or change.
Sure.
And what are you most excited about, especially in like either non-alc or in D2C or in the company and your growth goals?
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited about a lot of things. I'm excited about some limited releases we have coming, right? Limited releases are always fun for us. It's a great way for us to test, to see if something's got viability to be a large scale product, if people are going to want to consume it on a more regular basis or more of like that ritual, like special moment instance. So excited about that stuff because it's a huge boon for us online as well. If you launch a limited release product and you make it available in exactly one channel, and that channel is your website, everybody who wants to try the product has one place to go for it. So So that's been, you know, a model that's been really successful for us. We did it for the first time in June of 2024. We did a limited release. We sent 25,000 emails, and we had a 2.5% order rate on that. So like big stats, people were really excited. And is good revenue, really strong revenue for us. And now we know that product has a lot of viability to eventually become a main stable product. We're doing a massive release. It's the biggest product we'll release since the Phony Negroni. And that's going to come out in March of 2026. So we're extremely excited about that. It's going to come out in every channel all at the same time. So as like a marketer in general, I'm super excited to have something where we as a business are much more powerful than we were when the Phony Negroni came out, to really go to market in a spectacular and exciting way. So, you know, do a lot of lead up for the DTC channel so that when we get that product out, it's, you know, I know Shopify websites generally don't break, but I'd like to make the joke that I'd love to see the website try and break, because you know, I think if we can do all of the pre steps that we want to, and we communicate it the right way, then I think it's going to be unlike any day we've seen when we release the product. So that's something that really excites me. I mean, that's something that excites everybody here. We all sit there and look at Google Analytics at the live web traffic or the Shopify live traffic report, and just kind of hit send and see how people start to read the email and pop to the website. So I'm excited about that as well. And then I'm just excited about growing all of our channels a little bit more together. So we're looking at technology that will start to marry folks who purchase at retail with our online operation through QR codes and some other, you know, creative solutions, so that we can communicate a little bit more with them and get a little bit more multi-channel in terms of consumers. So maybe some consumers buy occasionally at Target because they only want a 2-pack, but they have a party, they're coming to us for a 24. But, you know, we do a limited release, they come back to us, whatever it might be. I think it's just making sure that consumers have all the best information to buy in the best possible way, and giving them that information.
No, it's so true. And it's you want to acquire them in all these different areas, but ultimately, like, when they're your customer, you've got so many ways of remarketing to them afterwards. So the more you can get them back to DTC, the better. Well, I'm excited to see what this new product is. I'm imagining it's completely under wraps and you can't give any kind of hints, but I guess we'll wait until March.
The best hint I can give, and it goes back to sort of our brand and our product line, it's going to be Italian inspired, and it's something that every person generally has not necessarily had, but is well aware of. So yeah, it sits within those realms.
Exciting. Well, thank you so much for sharing all of your amazing information and more about like your guys' journey. It's been brilliant. So thank you very much.
Of course, it was my pleasure, Rebecca. It was great chatting.